This is our moment. Do we escalate, or do we find an off-ramp? We can return hate with hate. And that's the problem with political violence, is it metastasizes. History will dictate if this is a turning point for our country. But every single one of us gets to choose right now if this is a turning point for us.
Utah Governor Spencer Cox has been an eloquent voice for civility in the days since Charlie Kirk's assassination. Governor Cox joins us tonight from Utah. Governor, thank you for the time. I want to talk about that big picture and those sentiments that you had expressed at the press conference, but I do want to talk a little bit about the investigation as you read some of those specifics. You started at the press conference by saying, "We got him." Do authorities believe that Tyler Robinson acted alone?
Yeah, yes, Brett. They're very confident right now. Obviously, the investigation is ongoing. They're still following every lead. We appreciate the public who has reached out, but every piece of evidence we have so far makes it very clear that the assassin acted alone.
So I saw you read from the probable cause affidavit from the arresting officer, in which you talked about the rifle, the gun. Is it the authorities' belief that he assembled the weapon on the roof and then jumped off the roof with the weapon and then walked away with it and then left it in the woods?
Yeah, so that's what they're working on now. It's not my belief that it was a weapon that would be assembled. It was likely carried up there with him, but again, that is all still being investigated. But yes, came off the roof and then he tried to hide the weapon in the woods in a towel, and then that's where police found it later that evening.
And when we see him walking down the street on this video with the gait, the limp, are we to assume that the gun is in a pant leg? Is that what authorities are saying?
That's a very distinct possibility.
Okay. As this is the video walking down the street, by the way, keep going with that video. I have one more question on the specifics. Was the round that hit Charlie Kirk recovered? And has it been matched to the rifle that has been recovered?
So all of that is being processed right now. I believe that the round has been recovered, and so that evidence has been taken back to Quantico to be processed, and that's happening even as we speak.
Yeah, there's just all these specifics as you get all of this information, and we're trying to kind of piece it together. And I appreciate it, Governor, since you were reading some of that earlier today. Let's talk about the big picture here and what you take from what appears to be this shooter's motive.
Yeah, well, with the big picture, I think is pretty clear. This is someone who hated Charlie Kirk and hated his message and hated what he was doing, and decided to use political violence to end his life. And that is, as I said earlier, that's not just an attack on Charlie Kirk, which is devastating, and our hearts are broken for him, for his family. I've had a chance to talk to his parents, just devastating. But it's the reason you're spending so much time on this, the reason every media outlet is spending so much time on this, the reason I'm talking to you about this is that this is an assault on not just him, but on all of us. It is an assault on the very fabric of our country, of our democratic republic, of our ability to speak freely. And we cannot take that lightly. It is the most serious abdication of our responsibility as citizens that exists, and we have to snuff it out.
You know, you've been on the program before, and we've had you on Common Ground with the Democratic governor talking about trying to bring the country together. You expressed some of that today at the press conference. It is a tough time, you have to admit, Governor, in the wake of this.
I do, and look, people are angry right now, and they don't need me lecturing them on that. Anger is a very normal response. It's one that I felt. It's one that I've expressed. And that's why I thought it was so helpful. At 2 o'clock this morning, I was scrolling through Charlie's Twitter feed, where he's talking about forgiveness, where he's talking about how if we stop talking to each other, that's when the violence starts. And so what he believed in, I think, is what we need right now. And certainly, as I was able to talk to his family, they agree with that. They know that Charlie was about nonviolence. You heard President Trump say that as well. That we all need to embrace nonviolence. The question I always have is what happens next if we become violent because of violence against us. Where does that lead to? And it leads to some very, very dark places.
And speaking of dark places, I mean, there's all kinds of conspiracy stuff online. And one of the reasons we want to get to the hard answers and ask as many questions as we can is to dispel some of the stuff that goes all over the place. You said today that maybe, social media, put it down every once in a while.
Yeah, look, first of all, those violent images that we saw are just terrible. We're not conditioned for that type of information. We've never had access to that in the history of the world, where you could see something so violent so immediately, and that's dangerous. The conspiracy corners, we've been tracking very closely. Certainly, the Chinese and the Russians. There are lots of bots who are trying to spread violence and disinformation, but you don't have to look to them to find it. It's happening here. And in the celebratory piece of this as well, which is so ugly and so dark, I want to be very clear that I've had literally hundreds of elected Democrats at the highest level who have reached out and with true sadness, not just saying the right things, but truly disgusted and disturbed by what has happened. And yet we shouldn't put aside the fact that there are lots of people that are happy about this. We've lost too much of our humanity, and it happens in those dark corners of social media, those algorithms that have hijacked our dopamine and our brains and taken us into these places where there's a reward for doing and saying the worst types of things. And we just have to find a way to disconnect from that.
Today, President Trump said there should be quick trials in some circumstances, and this could be one of them. Do you believe, if convicted, Tyler Robinson will face the death penalty in your state?
Well, certainly we are going to be seeking the death penalty. I said that before. We're working with the prosecutors as well to get that information ready so that they can pursue that. What I will also say is that we believe very strongly that the victims need to play a role in these conversations. And so in the days that come, the prosecutor will be having conversations with Charlie's family. I always worry that they get lost in all of this, and I want to make sure that in these conversations, it's not about me. It really is about the Kirk family and Erica and their kids and Charlie's parents, his sister, all of the family, that we have those conversations. But that is certainly the intent here in the state of Utah.
Well, Governor, we appreciate your time. We appreciate your voice in these troubled times. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Brett.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.